Bye, 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 bye. Hello, Jody Raynsford. Hello, bad boy runners. How are you? How do-badders? How you doing?
Oh, hello, David Hellard. How are you?
Oh, where did this? I've just come in with high energy vibes, and you've just completely taken the edge off it. Crashed it to earth.
What you don't understand, do-badders, is that we've been chatting for about 40 minutes beforehand, and yeah, I don't know. I've lost all my energy now as a result. I thought as soon as we
we're back.
as soon as
we're
we,
back.
no, I was trying to do. It's like almost trying to do a Ken Bruce style. I just want to set people's minds at ease.
Popmaster. Well, I'm trying to think. We're in the new year. We're coming up to the run show fairly soon, which should be really fun. And if you haven't got a ticket, I don't know what you can do. I can't remember.
FYB, BBR, something like that. Just go and give it a type. Like one of those things will work.
But I've got so many things on the list to talk about.
Go on.
And let's why don't we start with running? Just because.
What?
Yeah,
what?
I know, right? I know.
Hello. If you're a new listener, this is the first time you've listened to Bad Boy Running. This is a very unusual situation where we're starting talking about running. Go for it.
I've been back and forth with some big updates, some huge updates.
Oh wait a minute, is this a cheating one? Is this a cheating related?
I mean, there are cheating ones. There are cheating ones. There's drug stories. There's cheating stories.
I've got a lot, everything.
A whole heap of time off over New Year where I've been reading stuff. But,
I've just gone on a full doping binge.
I've been doped up to my eyeballs in dope. Well, firstly, I found out that Briggsy's health insurance now can include spouse. Hello.
Isn't it?
Which I don't know what that means, but boo-pa, booyah, booyah, booyah.
Smash that. That's got to be
the most middle class chant.
I've got to say though, physio stuff on health insurance, private health insurance is generally shit. Yes, it's a real money spinner for shit physios.
What do you mean?
Well, I had we talked about it before when I had those like injuries with my hip and I went to a physio that's local to where I'm from. You can guess who I'm talking about based on those words. And basically I saw, I went to the physio. I had my hip was hurting, and so they treated my hip because it was insurance. I was booked in for like 3 months worth, and they were treating it for like a couple of months, and it wasn't doing. And then one day the pain moved to the other side, and they were just like, oh. So they just started treating the other side. And so they didn't really try to find it. They were just treating the symptoms. It clearly wasn't the hips that the issue and things like that. And so I did that for like about 4 or 5 months and just went, this is just not going anywhere. But they're like claiming I'm thinking back and stuff. And so,
This is one of the benefits I hope of being in London, is that hopefully I'll be able to push for someone who's very specific, because that's a good thing about being a place of massive population. You can get someone who actually. So we'll see. But I
love an insurance job. Oh, they can stretch. They have no desire for you to get out of there fast. That's the thing. You have got to, you're going to be in there for minimum 12 weeks of something. An insurance job is just, we love it, insurance.
As long as it includes manual massage, I will take that. That's all.
No, if it's, if they do, that's it. If they massage, if it's just going to be, you're going to go here, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to print some shit for you, and I'm going to, thank you very much, Rupert. I'll take that payment every day.
All day long. But
it's a bit, I've got to say, that is a bit cynical from me, but that is literally my entire experience of claiming things like physio and stuff on. But again, I think a lot of it is to do, like, I think with who is available. And so I think you're absolutely right. I think being in London is going to make a massive difference.
And maybe I just get on board. Maybe I Olympic committee up that gravy train and just say, look, mate, I'm not even going to turn up. Just give me half.
That's exactly what to do. See? Modern problems require modern solutions. I think that's
I'm going to Jack Warner it.
Yeah,
but I'd say not Jack Warner.
That's an amazing idea.
That probably is quite litigious. So I've been in
insurance fraud. Tick.
I've been in to see pre-Christmas. I went to see the consultant, and he interestingly told me that actually the person who is they did a scan of my hip again. They're like, Yeah, we can't figure it out.
Thank God you said hip. When you said a consultant, again, not as sure. I didn't know whether you had stayed on the subject or we were talking about a different ailment. It's a scan on your hip. Okay,
scan on hip.
Yeah.
And they admitted to me, like, look, we've looked at it. We're going to try it. You can try this. You can try these things. We can try injecting you. And when you maybe over, they were saying, but this injection really hurts. And I was giving it the, mate, come on, I'm a runner. Like, I didn't say it, but I almost got super wanky. Like, I'm an ultra runner. Pain is my bedfellow. Pain is my friend. Pain is, that kind of thing. Where I was thinking, it sounds quite cool saying it, but I know I'm being a bit of a cock here. But but I was just like,
it's great that for once you're self-aware about that. I see.
But I was like, mate, honestly, don't worry about pain. He's like, yeah, but you might not be able to. You might not be able to walk
you're
out
coming
of
to
here.
a great fool here.
And I'm like, don't worry, honestly, pay me up. Just whatever it takes, pay me up. I'll just deal with it. But
do-badders, if you're listening to this is something that David carries through. So if you ever want to torture him or hurt him anyway, he's fine with it. Paying him up.
I'm the new G-Log. The new G-Log. By the way, that was a great episode. We can talk about that later. But it turns out the person who is specialist in this very specific area is only available on private. So they know them. They're in the same hospital, but the NHS can't get access to them, which is interesting. Yeah, I didn't think that could be the case. So it's 1,500 quid if I want access to them, which.
This sounds like a game. It sounds like you've got to pay to unlock this new level. There's someone at the center of a hospital, but we can't access him. Which boss do I have to kill to get to this person?
It's exactly that. Which is like, what's in the box?
You have to prove yourself. This is like Ready Player One? Are there 3 clues that you've got to find or something? Is there a riddle that you got in order to?
Well, maybe I could get the Booper thing to refer me to them. Oh.
I split 1,500 quid between 2 of you. Go, look, I don't need the pain is my friend. I don't need the injection.
But I'll be interested to see. So say I can somehow crowbar that together, whether the information from the NHS will be the scans will be shared, or whether I have to do a new one. Because you'd hope, I'm sure data protection will stop it, but you'd hope in a system that is designed for the patient, that actually they'd be like, these are the scans we've had already. Look at these, rather than having to do the whole thing again, be charged again. But anyway, the short story is that I'd said previously how I was doing these split leg squats and how unbelievable. Like, do better. Try and do a split leg squat now. Try and do 20 in a row on each side. I reckon you'll struggle, which seems crazy, because it should be easy, right? Just going up and down your legs. So he said instead, if you want to do a marathon, which I do, although apparently I've already missed, I've been dropped off the email list for the paces of London Marathon. So I've missed that window.
You've been dropped off the list?
Yeah, didn't receive an email. Check spam. It came through. It's been and went. I've missed that window. So that's another story. But I still want to do a spring marathon. And Beer Lovers I've now booked up. I'm going no matter what. I've booked the train with Briggsy. I've booked our place. And so we're going to be doing, I'm dropping down my running to 3 runs a week. So the idea is I'm building up my Sunday run. I'm up to, I did split miles 2 weeks ago, did 18 miles, 6 in the morning, 12 with Briggsy to get to Richmond for Christmas. And then we went out, we had lunch on Saturday where we ran around the Thames, had lunch in Greenwich, then we ran back. So that was 15 and a half. So I'm already there. So actually, suddenly, doesn't seem that distant. And at the end of that, my injury hurts, my leg hurts, but 2 days later, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm actually having now three weight sessions a week. Yeah. And I say weight sessions basically like a bag of sugar and doing an exercise that a child could probably do really easily.
At least you're doing it, David. At least you're doing it.
Yeah. 3 weight sessions a week, 3 runs a week, and then everything else is rest.
And how does that's a significant drop in
running
in commitment in running. Okay, how do you? how do you feel about it? I mean, I know that you are slightly forced to in terms of injury and things like that, but how do you, because, you know, when you before, you were pretty much running every day, weren't you? I mean, that's it, you know. And, you know, it being a daily habit is very different to like 3 times a week. So how do you kind of feel on a philosophical level?
It's interesting. It's interesting you said that, because I do find it harder now. Partly because there's bloody rail strikes all week, and the only way for me to get into town really is to run, and I can't because I've got in essence rest days 2 days a week, or 2 out of 3 days I'm not running. It's not even that. So, but it makes it tricky because so much of my training is just background running to places. It makes it easier. Whereas now, if I'm only running 3 days a week, one's going to be the weekend. So am I going to park run? I don't know. Maybe, but probably not, because I need to do the long run at the weekend, really. So it's quite a ballsy strategy of doing a park run in the morning and then running up to all your extra miles afterwards. Probably not a good idea. But also, it's just really faffy now for how do I get into the office? How do I actually do my runs? But also, if you're only running 3 times a week, you want to do an interval session. You want to do a tempo session, really. And that then doesn't fit in with any. It's just hard to actually coordinate that when your weights depend on when you can do your weights, depend on how you're feeling. And so it's a real ball ache that I'm having. Like Briggsy said to me, I was going to book tickets to the theatre in Hammersmith. She said, but I said, look, I'm going to wait until I know if there's train strikes. She said, we could run there. I'm like, well, I don't know if I can run there, and I can't book it in now because it depends on how everything else is panning out, and therefore how I adjust each week and whether I'm doing a run that day and whether what that run that is. Because so actually it just becomes really, really fiddly, which is annoying. Harder. It's so much harder to run less. But in some ways it's easier for my long run because I've now got Saturday or Sunday to do my long run.
Yeah.
And I can then adjust around what I'm doing, which is far easier than having to do the Saturday where I go out and do, if I was training really hard, I'd go out and do a long run anyway, and then do a longer run Sunday. Or if I wasn't, I'd do a tempo run on Saturday. So but like swings and roundabouts, but it's nice to know. I feel like it could work. And I could get to running marathon distances. And I think it'll be interesting, hopefully, for the listener, just to know what kind of pace that gets me to. Because I've never really understood, out of your long run, your interval session, your tempo run, and the overall mileage that you're running, which is it that gets you fast? Which is it that gets you to your good time? Because when I've trained for comrades, when I've trained for MDS, that's when I've been the fastest at every single distance. Because I'm doing it all. I'm doing all 3 elements and massive mileage.
Yeah.
So I've had a period, I think.
Isn't it like in an unscientific, isn't it like a bunch of building blocks though, that if it's like the interval session is the thing that makes you faster, but it only makes you faster if you're doing all the other sessions around it. If you only did an interval session, every week, and kind of limited running that wasn't a higher volume than that, then it wouldn't have the same impact. It almost has, you have to have like the formula or the different percentages of everything in order for it to work in the right way. So it's not a case of one thing on its own will make you do it. The one thing on its own will make you faster, but it has to be surrounded, like that interval session or because that's what I thought, aren't the speed sessions that you do or the hill repeats that you do are the things that actually they're the ones that you have the gains in speed and but they have to still be back-ended by a huge amount of lower intensity running in order to really see those gains as well. But
weirdly they all feed into even this, because, and actually this is maybe a question we should ask someone like Nick Anderson, GB marathon coach or England marathon coach. If you only do one run,
Polar Watch Nick Anderson.
Yeah. Better watch. I think he's high five, Nick Anderson.
High five, Nick Anderson.
High five, Nick Anderson. He's got so many hats. He must have the biggest head in the world. But like, if you only do one run, which one's going to have the biggest impact? If you then only do 2 runs a week, which 2 are going to do the biggest? And if you don't do 3, because part of it,
exactly. That's the thing. That's what I kind of getting at. Like, if you have to do one run a week, well, if you have to do 1 run a week, I imagine that if it was a marathon, it'd be the 1 long run.
Yeah.
But if you were doing 2 runs a week, then it would be, do you do an interval in a long run? It does that, an interval, or do you do, a kind of a slightly longer run and a long run, or do you do 2? But and that's like, what's the combination? What's the right combination? And then if you do 3 a week, it's clearly long run, a short run and a tempo run or something. That. And so, it's that combination of.
But actually, the long run will make me faster at shorter distances.
Yeah.
Because 1, it's gonna stop me getting fat. Genuinely, and number 2, it's gonna help my running.
You getting fat. I'm not sure that works for the rest. When you put it out for the rest of the population, you do a long run and then come home and smash 2 Domino's pizzas. So
it depends on the lunch you're stopping halfway through for. But it genuinely, it does. I find it easier to keep my weight if I do a long run than if I don't. Same with just general running, overall running. But also it does help with your running economy as well, which then helps you. It helps if you're just better running economy means you will be faster on shorter distances, even though you're not running faster speeds. That's the whole principle behind 80-20 running, really. So it'll be interesting to find out what it gets to me, because weirdly, I still think of myself as incredibly slow relative to what I'd want, where I've been, but I could probably bang out a sub 3 quite quickly.
When I think of incredibly slow, I think sub 3. That's
but it's all relative, isn't it?
No, of course it is.
And the distance and so that's what I'm almost intrigued to find out, because it's not often that you get runners who do experiment with new types of training. And when we do this, once you've listened to do-badders to our interview with Chris Twiggs, if I'm marathon fit, I'm then going to do a run walk marathon and just see what it's like.
I was thinking, I haven't been able to stop thinking about that. So we did the interview last night, and it's really eye-opening. Just because it sounds crazy, and it's not. I don't think when you hear run walk marathon, I think it's very different from what you think it's going to be.
It sounds so much harder.
It sounds much harder, but
it's so much easier. I don't know.
I know, that's the thing. I've waited to today. Am I going to go out and do a run and then just do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and see what that's like? It feels like it's going to be, and then think, how do I do this for 4 hours? You got to listen to it. It's really good. It's slightly confusing when you have this idea of, especially from an ultra perspective, where you think, run walk. Obviously, you walk for a couple of minutes because so you get something to eat or have a drink, and then you run for 20 minutes, and then you walk for a couple of minutes again. You run. It's not that. It's not that at all.
No. Yeah, no. It's very. Although it could be depending on, I think, your speed, or that's the thing. We don't know the exact formulas of it, but it's fascinating. That's coming in the next few weeks.
I've got some big running news.
Yeah.
I'm now. Well, I've always been on Strava. I mean, I set myself up on Strava before, but I've never really kind of used it. Yeah. And now I'm actually on it, using it, and I've even bought a subscription. And I've got to say, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I am so, after how many years? What are we going to be? It's going to be almost 8 years doing the podcast. This is the first time I started using Strava. I'm just totally confused by it. I don't really understand what the local legend stuff or what.
But what made you buy the subscription rather than just using it?
I just wanted to find out what the local legend thing was. I didn't.
You want to be a local legend?
I've heard about. And also the running routes as well, to see if there were any. There's fuck all. It was not worth it. There's a lot on there, isn't there, that I find really confusing. But it makes you realise just how fucking slow you are compared with everyone else. Like someone's got a run like right next to the our road. But the segment thing is, we've talked about segments, and I've always but until you kind of see the massive variation in how quickly someone runs something. You're like, what? Like how, I don't know. It's really interesting.
But also you've got to remember that even if I do a segment, I might do a segment 5-minute miles speed, maybe even quicker if I was fit, because it's a segment, or I might do it at just doing my long run, 9-minute mile speed. So even within me, I've got almost twice as slow over one segment. So when you then take in the variation of the speed of runners, you're assuming that that's massive variation.
Yeah, because the thing is, I don't know why it probably didn't twig with me properly, because I never used it before, but I didn't realize that, of course, if you run anything, you just do a bunch of segments because they're on your route. And so it says you've gone you've gone on a segment. I'm like, oh right, okay. I don't really know what to do with that information now. But yeah, I suppose I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it and everything. But it's quite. I'm on it now. I feel like I've it's almost akin to joining a running club in terms of it being a breakthrough. I don't know if I'm visible to anyone though. I think I've made myself like private or whatever, which means I can't go for local legends and things like that. Now that I know what that is. But what is local? I mean, what is local legend? Is local legend something like you just if you do a certain number of segments or something? Because I couldn't really work it out.
I think it's when you've run a segment the most times over the last 90 days.
Oh, really? Is that all it is?
Yeah.
It's just a participation. It's not about speed or anything.
No, which is quite nice because particularly now, the good segments are out of touch for pretty much everyone. So, but part of it is getting to explore what it does, and then just thinking about what motivates you as a person, and how can you then use these different tools to actually just push you a little bit more. Like, are you going to be motivated by getting that crown? Are you going to be motivated by knowing there's this one route that you can, on your park run, you can see if you can, your fastest back end or whatever the thing is that actually makes it a bit more joyful, playful, motivating.
Yeah. So I'm going to be playing with stuff in that, see what happens.
Oh, cool! I'm excited to see. Yeah. Don't give up on it because it can be fun. And even now when I come back from Briggsy and I went out and did an interval session together. It was massively windy and it was after Christmas, so I hadn't run much and was feeling a little bit turkeyed up as such. And it was really helpful to actually see the reasons why I'd had such a bad session was because I'd smashed it out too much on my second rep with the wind. And and I was like, that explains it. And it was almost comforting to me to explain why I shouldn't feel as bad as I do about that session. The data is so useful. But
so wait a minute. So it's Beer Lovers. Is Beer Lovers the only thing you got planned in for this year, race-wise?
Yeah. I mean, I genuinely was hoping I could be a London Marathon pacer, but completely missed it. So I will email them and say, look, I'm training up. If you need someone, I'll be here. And just hope that if someone, not hope, and if someone is unfortunate enough to be injured, maybe that'll happen. But otherwise,
maybe you putting something out there for the do-badders. Maybe someone could have an accident. Maybe
maybe 57 Humboldt Road. And so, Briggsy and I had talked about doing a spring marathon. I think she likes the idea of that now. We potentially eyed up Madrid, but I'm quite happy to just rock up and do a marathon, just train and rock up at a marathon when we know, particularly because the training intensities we're doing, our taper's not going to be massive.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes a massive difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, we don't have to peak at a certain weekend. We can just be like, cool, we're pretty fit now. Let's go and do one. And depending what she wants to do, maybe I try and pace her for a certain time. Maybe I'll run for a Boston qualifier, good for age, whatever it may be. Figure it out how we're feeling at the time. So that's it. Beer Lovers, and then a spring marathon of sorts, and probably a half marathon, just to in case a position does come up, I can say, well, look, I've done a half marathon in sub 1:30 or whatever the time may be, just to show that I'm not injured now, if that is the concern, or I am able to, even while injured, still run these pace.
Yeah, I might do a. Do you know what? I was thinking about this. I was thinking I might do like a 10K or a half marathon or something. The problem is, I there's something in me that I say I'll do it, and then I go and see the price of it, and I think, oh, I could just fucking run a 10K on my own. That's the thing. Even though I know that I won't run it as fast as if I did in a and also it's the travel thing. I was like, is it worth going? Traveling there just for that half marathon, is it worth it?
Well,
I don't know. It's really difficult because I've got this other thing in my head of, oh yeah, it's 100 miles, I'll definitely travel for it, or a marathon, I'll definitely travel for it, but short distance. But I need to get out of that. I'm sure.
So make it funner. Just message some friends and saying, shall we do this? And then it becomes more of a reason, because actually you're going to go for a nice pub lunch. You can say to Libby, hey, why don't we go and do this? You can do that. We'll then go for lunch afterwards. It'll be quite fun. And then it is worth it, because you're not just paying for a place, you're paying for a lovely weekend or a lovely day out.
Actually, do you know what? It might make the family might be up for that, because it got to a point where doing the ultras and stuff like that, they just wouldn't be able to come along and support, because it's just it's boring, isn't it? It's too boring. Long. It's too long. You're out for such a long time. No one, it's a shit. It's a shit spectator sport. People running like 100 milers and stuff like that. It is. And so that's a nice idea.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm looking down the list of things to potentially talk about. We've got quite a few. But did you see the news do you think you'd realize if the world champion for the 1500s, if he turned up at your local parkrun, do you think you'd realize?
No.
Do you think if they spanked out an incredible time, you might then look at them and be like, do you think you'd realize then?
Do you think, oh wow, I'd get an inkling that maybe this stranger at this park run, or tourist as they like to call him, there's something about him. There's something about this guy. He's got. I like the cut of his jib or her jib. I don't know.
Do you think if you were the race director?
Oh God, where's this going?
Of a park run, you know who the names are. You can look at the numbers.
Go on. What? Where's this going?
So for Christmas, Jake Whiteman, 1500 meter world champion, turned up at Dulwich Parkrun, which Mr. Chris Ince was race director for. I messaged him about it. He had no idea until the article came out afterwards. Like, oh, yeah, I guess that was the world champion at my parkrun. So I love that. I just love that. But actually, in some ways, it just shows how fast Dulwich Park. I mean, he won by over a minute, and it's got pictures as well of him from it that other people had clearly
standing with Chris with his world champion
in his GB kit.
It's a GB kit holding his medals. Chris, no idea.
He is just wearing a black top. And he's not wearing anything.
This is definitely not world champion on the top.
Yeah. So I just thought it was quite fun. How great is that? And damn it, I could have gone to that parkrun as well. I was thinking about it, but no, we didn't. We stayed in bed instead. So next time, people, let me know, because I'd love to. I'm putting it out there. If
you want to race a 1500 meter world champion?
Yeah. If a Jake Whiteman.
Well, you've gone for it. I'm doing three runs a week. I reckon I can take him on.
If anyone like that turns up, I will commit to being ahead of them for as far as I can, and then pretending I pull a hamstring, and then at the end,
run walking. Sorry, I'm doing a run walk strategy. So.
Then I enter commit. Then at the end, I'm going to be like, yeah, mate. I really think I would have had you, but my training, and just putting all these excuses as if I would have beaten them, just to see how they react.
Yeah,
because I think that'd be quite fun. So that was something in the news that I thought was needed to shout out Chris about. I'm going to give you a few choices.
Okay.
For things to talk about, which are topical. We've got new TV things. We've got the Kanye West situation. We've got a runner's sales pitch. What does that even mean? Us being pitched. We've also got TV shows. We've got Camille. We'll leave that for when we speak to her. Comrades cheat can wait. Good article. We've got hundreds of runners collapsing in wild start line.
Oh come on, that's clearly the one that we're gonna do. I want that, and I want TV shows.
TV shows. So this one I thought was interesting, partly the way it's reported, partly because of the story behind it. So have you heard of a race called the Corrida de Houilles? I've butchered that. Corrida Pedestre Internationale de Houilles.
No, I've not heard of that.
So it's 10K road race in France. The video is not that great, actually. I thought it'd be better. I'll quickly ping it across to you. But this is a 10K road race, massive one in France. And if you look at the start of it, people fall over. But the crazy thing about it is the start is in a weirdest place where there's a massive tree right at the start line.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And there's also a bunch of photographers that are all there taking photos, and then people just start piling over and falling. And I'm dubious at the claims of hundreds of runners collapse. That seems a bit unlikely. But what I found fascinating about this is the explanation behind it. So this is a super high level race. They've got 63 men finishing under 30 minutes for 10K.
Yeah.
Halle Bekele winning in 27:29, 1 second ahead of Vincent Kibert. I mean, these are rapid runners. But changing any part of the course would require the race organizers to obtain a new certification from World Athletics. And the race is currently listed as an elite label race on the World Athletics calendar. So the suggestion is that...
So wait. Is that tree... That tree hasn't grown in the last couple of years or something. Have they always started it? Like 10 meters behind that tree?
They've always started it there. And why would you not move the cameramen as well? Because you can't
surely even just moving the thing slightly to the other side and then putting a railing that goes around the tree would be preferable to. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It is so utterly ridiculous.
But the elites are calling for the committee to move the start line.
Many other elites are calling the organisation to move the start line past the tree.
Yeah, but if they do that, they're going to have to reapply again.
Yeah, and surely you can. I mean, like just looking at it here, surely that there is a way around that. Whether you maybe make the start a little bit narrower, and again just like cordon it off a little bit. I mean,
yeah,
that is so ridiculous.
But weirdly, the French obviously love their paperwork. You'd think they'd adore the idea of paperwork, but maybe even they realise the pain of paperwork. And so I thought that was fascinating that this crazy race is still every year going to be like that because people can't be asked to fill out a form. We must have some French do-badders. Have you heard of this race? Does this happen often? How is it reported in the French press? And is it likely to change? We want to know your feedback on that. Letters at badboyrunning.com.
It does feel this article is a little political in the sense that it seems to be making out more. It's more of a problem than you can really see from the.
Yeah, hundreds of runners collapse.
Complete carnage. And I don't know. I think you might be exaggerating as to what complete carnage. Have you noticed recently just how emotive all language is?
Yeah.
I mean, like even watching the World Cup and even with the strikes and things like that, just you watch the World Cup and someone scores a goal and then they score 2 goals and they go, so-and-so is running riot. You're like, scored 2 goals. I'm not sure he's running riot. I'm not sure he's like totally dominating this game. But they use that term all the time. Yeah. And then whenever it comes to strikes, or when it, even where the the handover of power with the Tory party and stuff like that, people go, it's chaos. There's chaos here. There's chaos here. It's just like, you do understand what a revolution, like when a revolution or a power struggle happens in a South American country or in a
how are you going to report on that in a way?
I mean, like, exactly. I mean, like, what we are calling chaos now and running riot and things. It's just everything. It's applied to everything, and this is one of the things. It's complete carnage. It's not, is it? Like, even if 100 people fell over, that is not complete carnage. Carnage. I mean, like, even the word itself doesn't even speak to it properly. That's just. It's
Did anyone die?
Did anyone die? No, probably, exactly. It's really kind of disrespectful for those parts of the country, parts of the world, where people are in genuine disasters and genuine things happening. Those things need to apply to.
Yeah.
I mean, it should never ever be applied to race organisation. Like, as bad as race organisation can get, it's never going to be that bad. I mean, putting a tree in front of it. I mean, they've tried. There's a tree in front of a start line,
and it sounds actually. It's almost like we're. I mean, that is genius. They should put the photographers up the tree.
What do they want to do? They want those bollards. Bollards are just about groin height. Just start a race right in front of those.
Invisible to the eye.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way that you'll know until you get it.
But it leads me on to one of the TV shows, but it's full circle, because we obviously love Monkey Tennis, the more successful podcast of Mr. Ian Darke, and all about Alan Partridge. There's a great interview with, I think it's Adam Buxton, probably talking to, how have I not remembered his name? Mr. Morris, the writer of The Daily Show.
Chris Morris.
Chris Morris, who created
The Day-to-Day in Brass Eye, yeah.
And he was talking about how the idea for almost that narrative came about. And when he first worked in radio, I believe, he was in a local radio station, and he said there was this amazing guy who would always do, is it tautologies, where he'd be like, hyperboles. It was like, train accident carnage in M4 leaves motorist mayhem. And and it's always that voice. And that was the thing that he just found hilarious, because the guy doing it would always give him a winky smile, as like, yeah, I'm doing the thing. But you're right, that has now, the day-to-day and the Alan Partridge news desk is now the Brass Eye. That is now the norm.
It's Brass Eye. That is exactly. It's the norm. It's absolutely insane.
So you have to read these articles with the voice of Chris Morris. Carnage. Take hundreds. So what is the headline again? Let's give it a try.
Hundreds of runners collapse in wild start line video. I mean, you watch it and you're like,
who could have seen this coming? Well, everyone could have seen it coming. Literally everyone. The tree was right there. I won't talk about another. We'll talk about how far is tattoo far next time? Because
how far is tattoo far?
How far is I'll let you. You've
already come up with the headline there. Look at you, headline writer.
No, that's the TV show that we're going to talk about at some point. Oh boy! Wow!
So is that the name of a TV? That's the name of a TV show.
How far is tattoo far? Oh, I like. Oh,
I take we're talking about like ink tattoos rather than the Russian band Tattoo.
It's it's the military tattoo in Edinburgh. It's to do with the journeys people have to make. How far is too far to go to watch?
They want to combine Edinburgh Marathon with the
train strap. Yes, yeah.
Tattoo. That's it. There's not enough opportunity on the Edinburgh Marathon course to dismantle a cannon, carry it over 3 or 4 fences, and put it back together again. I think there needs to be more of that.
yeah, absolutely. But it leads me on to one of the TV shows that I watched one episode of and a half, and I just hate.
Oh, what is it?
So, in maybe 2 bad stuff ago, we talked about how Human Playground was a Netflix series, Idris Elba narrating, where it was talking about different extreme challenges or people's relationships with extreme environments as a human playground, in which sadly the lovely Anna Brown is filmed failing the MDS and sat there in a slightly humiliating way. So we love you, Anna, we love you. But I watched it and it is a truly awful TV show where every single, it's the way I describe it is if you asked a GCSE student who was minoring on a week's philosophy and poetry to write a script of the beauty of human endeavor as a human playground. So every single line is the cheesiest bullshit the whole way through. And there's so inauthentic. There's nothing in it that you can connect with. It's some of the most beautiful footage with the most wanky bullshit. And I can't, like...
That's what people say about Golden Trail.
That's what I try and bring. I try and up the wanky bullshit.
Sorry, it's not wanky bullshit. It's inane bullshit.
Inane bullshit. I mean, that we are inane bullshit.
No,
right?
I'm just joking. It was a cheap joke.
It was a cheap
joke,
swipe.
and it was there, and I was always going to take it. But go on, yeah. So it just.
But do better. Has anyone else watched this and thought the same? Where it's so frustrating because some of the sports they focus on look genuinely interesting, and there's going to be incredible stories there, but they manage to just wank over the top of it. So it's, for someone like me, it's unwatchable. But does anyone else find it the same? Did anyone else just think, oh, stop trying to turn, like, you're taking unbelievable experiences. Why do you need to add wanky philosophical faux poetry over the top?
I hate that.
Why?
It's just, I think that one of the best ones that I've ever seen, and I'm really glad that they did it that way, was the We Are Champions. When they did it with the cheese rolling, which was exactly the right tone to take. With Rainn Wilson doing it, exactly the right tone to take. Humorous, kind of
honest,
but then weirdly inspiring as well. In all the in completely the right way. Just
backyard heroes.
Just letting the event and everything kind of do the inspiring rather than, like you say, as soon as adding quotes and shit into it and doing the philosophical things, like, are we really done? Are we ever really done? You're like, what are you talking about? Like, it's so awful, isn't it?
When pain is your bedfellow, you learn you don't get much sleep at night. It's stuff like that.
It's all that kind of stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh man, maybe I should make the next series of Human, whatever it is. I've already deleted that post.
We never talked about. It's just because I think about it. We touched on it, but we've never talked about it. Welcome to Wrexham, and because it's been a little while since, because I think I watched it before you, and then you watched it. But we never talked about it. We never even talked about it in the roundup because we hadn't talked about it previously, so we didn't talk about it in the roundup at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another one where, again, I found that weirdly inspiring. With a lot of the stuff that happened in it, and really interesting in the way that they'd done it, which wasn't, I don't think that was created like a typical American documentary show. It was done in a very, very different way.
It's like, how do you, I think the link between that and the We Are Champions is, how do you give an honest depiction of passion beyond reason?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like, how do you explain to someone why this thing that shouldn't be important is so important?
It's so important. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. And almost it's like, I'm not sure that program would have been good at all if they'd have picked a better club than Wrexham. because there is so much entwined within Wrexham. And the thing is, I don't know when you watched that, whether you thought, so basically, just do, but in case you don't know, so it's on Disney Plus, Welcome to Wrexham. It's basically the documentary series, which is the story of Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds taking over Wrexham. And so, of course, it's completely inexplicable as to why they did it. Because people just think it's a massive joke and stuff like that. So this kind of explains it. But the thing I got from watching the first episode of that was that it was weirdly contrived. Like it was weirdly contrived in the sense they were just like, they randomly just picked it. And Rob McElhenney didn't even know Ryan Reynolds before that point. They brought Ryan Reynolds on because he had money. And you're like, you're like, oh, this makes even less sense as we're going on. But as the more you go, you realise that the importance it is to Rob McElhenney, because you find out more about him, and he has that real understanding for. I can't remember what the name of his is it baseball team or
no, Eagles.
Eagles,
Philadelphia
Eagles, and you realise how tied up it is with him, and all of that's reflected in it. But and then a lot of it starts, and then they showcase Wrexham in so many different ways, in really surprising ways as well. And and there'll be one episode that's about the name, I can't remember the name of the striker, who they basically got to drop 2 divisions and everything. But it'll be about him, and then it'll be about this guy who, one of the fans who, has been a decorator. My granddad was a decorator, and my dad was a decorator. I'm a decorator, and I fucking hate it. It's just. And then it focuses on people at the club, and then it weirdly then switches to one episode is about football hooliganism, which I thought was really, really powerful. It was really good, and it's really surprising series in the way that it doesn't follow like this linear pattern that you expect it to. It kind of it follows a pattern like a story arc, and then it just goes boom, we're just going to focus on this, or boom, we're just going to focus on that, what was it you liked about that you wanted to talk about it?
Well, I almost didn't. I almost lost it. They almost lost me, because I'd say that it's as a TV show. It's just I really enjoyed the whole thing, and oh my god, Ryan Reynolds is good at being on camera. Wow,
he is, isn't
he? Yeah, he does.
But but the thing is, you definitely get the sense that like when they go to like the matches and things like that, Rob is definitely much more into it, and Ryan is acting. Ryan is much. Ryan is acting his responses. He might not realise he's doing it, but he certainly is not into it as Rob.
He's being Ryan Reynolds.
He's being Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. But and actually, as a series, it's the length was it 18 episodes is surprising. But then COVID meant the first 9 they couldn't go there, but it is really almost. It's almost like a love letter to
irrationality.
Yes, that too. Yeah, but to a love letter to passions for lower league teams in general, and the tying up of
passion to local. And the fact is, that so many people connect it to it's something their dad did or something they did with their family, and and how much that kind of carries on and how important that is, and I do. What do you think? What do you think of the manager? Is it Phil?
I can't remember now. I think I quite liked everyone. Yeah. But it is brutal how they then, after one episode, go. It's all about these different players and how this guy, he grew up in the town and he could potentially play for other teams, but the money's not really good enough. And this is okay because it's local. And then at the end, it's all. After this game, 11 members of the team were fired. Something like that.
No, exactly. It was brutal, wasn't it? Because he got sent off, didn't he? They had that opportunity for him they go to the playoffs or whatever, I think it was. And the guy got, and it focused him the whole way through the program. And just saying, this is everything, I can't, this, I don't make a huge amount of money, and
I don't know what I do. I'll probably be a decorator.
And then he gets let go at the end of it. Because they need to rebuild. You're like, fucking hell. Yeah. I didn't realize how much they were paid. Like the average wage in the National League is 37 grand. I'm like, that's a year. Compared with other football, it's not, but that's much more than I thought. I didn't realize That's much more than I thought. I was thinking, they're going to be on like next to nothing or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still a full-time wage, especially if you're living in Wrexham.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Although I guess it's career progression, but yeah, you're right. It's not bad, and they are heroes as well.
And I think that's the other thing. I don't know anything about the National League and stuff like that. It was quite a good explainer that they did, but and how hard it is to get out of it compared with trying to go up from League 2 and League 1 and stuff like that. But it's not. Thing is, it's about football, but it's not really about football. Like you can watch it. It's like you could watch Last Dance and not being interested in basketball and find that fascinating. And I think the same thing with this. You can watch it, and there's so much interplay, and it's so much politics and other things that they have to deal with, and that you'll enjoy it. But I thought it was great. I did think it was much longer than like you said, 18 episodes was bizarre. And all different lengths as well, which I thought it was good.
Yeah, so give it a go, do-badders, and let us know what you think. So we, just to round us up, we did ask previously, what do badders feel about open letters? So some quite good responses. So Kieran clearly said, BBR open letter would be to whom I may have offended, which is fairly...
It'd have to be an open letter. There's no way we'd have the postage to write to everyone.
Yeah, massively. And Lucy Sukin said, it's just a pretentious term for my opinion, isn't it? Which I think is basically that. Lots of people like Dimmy loving the Joe Lycett one to David Beckham. And Fee Silk, we haven't talked about the Silk Cut for a while, have we?
Oh, yeah, no.
She said, so I'll have to do it in the Fee Silk voice. Can be powerful if used wisely. Can make you sound like a whiny, passive-aggressive dick if not. Which I think is fairly accurate. So,
I think so.
What's our question for the Group B this time? What have we been talking about? We haven't really had something that contentious to throw in there. We'll have a think.
So I'm saying insurance fraud. What would you do?
Well, I guess that's a lovely end to the bad stuff. We'll be if you've got any suggestions for future guests, then let me know. We've got Chris, who we've mentioned, the walk run coming up. We've also got trying to remember who's actually in our schedule. We've still got the marathon talk episode, I think, to come out, which was really, really fun. I'm pretty sure everyone will love that one because Martin's actually just a really good guest and he's very open and honest about everything. But if there's anyone in particular, any subjects in particular you'd like me to talk about, then message me, david@badboyrun.com, or message on Instagram.
If you want to join the conversation, head over to the Facebook group, answer 3 questions, and we'll let you in. If you want to buy more merch, store.badboyrunning.com, or you can pop along to the running show, and we've got about 8 T-shirts or something to sell, and I think we've got a load of evil Soviet gymnast stuff, which can't bloody sell now. So
because they're no longer evil. What?
Well, we know they're evil. There's no irony now. It just looks like we're just being mean.
Yeah, it's not the thing to.
And we don't want to start talking about Soviet Union because that's what Putin wants us to think.
And if you'd be as generous enough to leave us a review, Wanky Tosh is the Wanky Tosh. Or Wanky Hyperbole. Wanky Hyperbole.
Wanky Hyperbole. It sounds like a
character from Toast of London.
Yes, it does. A character from Toast of London is a perfect way of describing it.
Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next time. And
see you later.
Beer Lovers Marathon. Oh, I'm looking into it now. Get it in the calendar if you can.
What date is it, David? What date is it?
May.
You mean 21st of May?
You heard it first. 21st of May. Yeah.
You heard it first.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Fuck you, buddy.